So every year I want to come to Lag BaOmer and have some understanding of what's going on in it. Now, those of us who are trying to learn Kabbalah, we've been learning it like on a regular basis and trying to deeply into different kinds of places. You start getting into a place that's very high, and it's a narrow, let's say like this, in terms of other people. So it's very difficult to explain because there's so much involved in the Rav, so many different parts that if people who are not skilled in the language of Allah, and they don't know what it is, all these words mean and what they refer to, it'll be very difficult. But Lag BaOmer is really important to me. And so as a result of that, I want to take the topic on. Now here is this book, which I'm going to hopefully, Netter, if this works out, it's come out backwards. It might be. It's always backwards. All right, this is Shaar Hakavanot. I'll take a picture, Mitzvah Shem, and I'm send pictures of pages. Let's see, but I'm not sure exactly how to communicate this stuff, because as soon as we get into the idea of Lag BaOmer, we have to understand that behind the world, inside the world, outside of the world, but behind the facade of this world are other worlds, which are very similar in structural, or the way that things work from our brains down to our feet, and how all the shefa of life runs through all the different organs of our body. All of that is also true of the spiritual world, but not physical like us, because we're physical, that we live in the world of physicality. It's physical gashmis, right? So I want to try to explain this, but you have to keep in mind that there are concepts that the Rab deals with that are not worldly 100%. We're not used to them, so we need to see the words. But the first thing I would like to do is to read the chapter headings in this section that refers to Lag BaOmer, because there's what to say about just about that. So it says, here we go, he says, Yisboyer Inyan Lag BaOmer. That's what the Baruch wrote this. And now the Baruch is going to quote the Ari. That is, when I say Baruch, I'm talking about Chaim Vital. So the Chaim Vital says, originally it says Yisboyer, and then we're going to explain, he says, let us explain, Inyan Lag BaOmer. Now, then the Rav writes, Inyan Lag LaOmer. He calls it, instead of BaOmer, it's LaOmer. It's the 33rd for the Omer. Sha'asa behesped, that on this particular day, if someone, Bar Minan, dies, we give a eulogy. So when I got to do that, he says, Batinus, you can't fast on this day. In other words, it's the Filas Apayim. We don't fall on our faces. So we don't do tachnun. So this is a day of celebration. So we see that what's like. So now the next topic is like this. He says, Inyan Mises Talmidi Rebbe Akiva B'Meha Omer. Why did all those 24,000? And what about this number 24,000? He's going to get to that. He says, it's kind of a really round number, right? 24,000. So he says, and we can look at the Torah of this. We can get into it and try to understand what he's saying. But the Rav is not looking at a world that's physical like ours, but it does correspond to our world in every way. So he says, in this topic, he says the Talmidim, V'zeh Yisboyer Tam Inyan Mises Esrein B'Arbayim B'Arba rather Elef Talmidei Rebbe Akiva B'Yamim Eila. Why it is that they died during this time. Next piece, Yisboyer Shorish Nishmas Rebbe Akiva. What is the root of the soul of the neshama? Not just the word soul is the wrong word; it's the word the neshama of Rebbe Akiva. In other words, the panemius, the root of him. Shehu mechamesh gevuros and b'das dezah. What is he? He is one. There are 5 gevuros in the das of Zer Anpen, and he is one of those 5 gevuros. Now, gevuros, we understand, are dinim. There are dinim that are harsh, and there are dinim that are sweeter. The world was created through dinim. Children are created through dinim. Women are the formers, and dinim is like a shaping thing. We're shaping, but shaping is not necessarily fun if you're out there to have a good time. So if we want the greatest enjoyment in the world, we try to avoid dinim at all costs. So then he goes on, next topic. He says, Yisboyer Sharadas de Katnus. Now he says there's such a thing as das of Katnus. Kolu mehe chasadim vehe gevuros. Now, das itself always has 5 chasadim, which are actually chesed, gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, and Hod, that's 5. And the same names apply to Gevuros as well. Now, how the Gevuros work and what they're doing, so we're going to talk about that right now. But the thing he wants to say the most that we have to understand are there are Chasadim and Gevuros in the Das of the level called Katnus, and Chasadim and Gevuros in Das in the level that we call Godless. So what is Godless? What is Katnus? We'll talk about it another time. So now he goes to the next one. He says, Bir Hashem Akiba. We want to explain the name Akiba. He's going to take the name apart. He's going to put different things together, and there are drashim on that. Let's go to the next part. Yisboyer Sharebi Akiba Ho Yeshor Shlokol HaNeshamos. He is the root of all of the neshamot. Mina Gevurot, the Das, the Zah, that come out of the Gevuros of the Das, the Zah. In Kabbalah, Das is in the very middle. There's different kinds of middles, but it's in the middle. Different places in the middle, let's say. And inside of it are Gevuros, Chasadim, and Gevuros. And he says, this is referring to the Gevuros, they're in the Das of Zah. Ubir Shorish Nishmas Talmidah. So over there somewhere we say is the Neshama of Rabbi Akiba and also of his Talmidim. They're all over there too. So we'll just take the topics like this. Isboyer Tam Hiyos Misparam Kaf Dalad Elef. Why did it come out that there are 24,000 of them? So next one says Yisbar the Shorish Kaf Dalad Elef Talmidim. Kaf Dalad means 24,000 of his Talmidim who Mahatzirufim Shalhamochin, the continence to Elokim. So this is a whole the concept that we see in Sefer Yetzirah. The Gra, the Vilna Gaon deals with it in great detail, but of course also the school of Abalafia, many people going back to Sefer Yetzirah is a fundamental foundation work in Judaism. But you don't see a lot of people learning it because right now a lot of people are not learning Kabbalah. So it says Zibor the Shorsh, the 24,000. Who Mehatzirufim is some kind of mathematical combinations, shall hamochin the continence to Elokim that have to do with these 3 words. Mochin, which we understand is a force that carries bracha in it, different kinds of brachas. So we said there's a bracha of katnus, there's a bracha of godless. What we want is the bracha of godless. We are always in katnus. So he says, but this katnus has to do with the name Elokim. Okay, that's what we could say about this. It says, "Vayizboyer tam shalom nagu kavod zeh." So we're trying to explain: is it why are these people, these 24,000, why is it that they didn't deal with themselves in kavod? But tam misasam daika biyamim me'elo, and the reason for why they died specifically had to be during these days. Yeah, it's a nice topic. We'd like to know the answer to that, right? Yisbar shabalag ba'omer. Now over he says because shabalag ba'omer again. Yesh bo his galos rachamim. So on this day, though, there is a revelation of mercy, and it's through a name which is a combination. Actually, it's a kind of a Kabbalistic switch in the flow of the word Elokim, where the 3 middle letters are moved slightly. The lamed becomes a kaf, and the hey becomes a daled. Everything is moved a little bit to the right, 1 letter to the right. You stretched out all the 22 letters, you move them. And when the movement itself changes the nature of the Elokim, and that happens on Lag BaOmer. Not an easy thing to see. So I'll explain it a different way. If you imagine that Hashem wants to be mashpia to us, he does this through different kinds of kalim. And the basic kali of all kalim is the Hebrew letter, the 22 Hebrew letters. So we understand that Hashem is always shining at us or shining out to us, however we understand it, but through letters. So therefore we want to look at the name Akiba. And so also it works through numbers. So you want to see how it is at the word, the number 24,000. Where did that come from? So the last one is, I said that we're going to change it to a name which we're going to pronounce Akadatam. So then he says like this. Yisboyer is going to explain the kasher, the tie, Bein Shem Akadatam, this name which is a switch in the three middle letters of the name Elokim, Lalag Ba'omer, to change it to Lag Ba'omer. Now, it seems to me that I just listened to this because of this shul I was going to, where the rabbi used to say Ba'omer and La Omer. He said both, and it seemed to me it was like not very harmonious. But you see, there is a change over here. The Rav seems to use the word La Omer. And Chaim Vital, on the other hand, seems to want to say Ba'omer. That's the way it looks to me. So let me see. Here's the next one. So Yizboyer Shorish Nishmas Chameshes Talmidim Shasamach Rabbi Akiva that he put. In other words, he created them. They had the smicha from the ancient time. La'achar Mekan, that the other five that came out. He names them. He goes through them. Now we're going to explain. We're going to say again Yizboyer Shoret Nishmas Rabbi Akiva. We're going to explain the root of the soul of the neshama of Rabbi Akiva. But Tam he also Rebbe Lekulim, and why he was the Rebbe of all of it. Now it says Yizboyer Shahachami Shel Talmidim, that now we're going to explain that the five Talmidim Achashagadlu, after they grew up, they got godless. Higdilu la'alos Yosef Meshorsham Be'ez Ledasam. They grew to a level that was higher than the root of them at the time that they were born. Now, let me see if there's another one. So he explains over here, he says, Nizboyer, when explain, Inyan Minhag Shenagu Yisrael, what is the custom that Jews go, Lalechas B'yom Lag La'omer Al Kivrei Rashbi, V'Rebbe Elazar Bano, Asher Kavurim Be'ir Meiron. Why is it that everybody goes to Meiron to be by Rabbi Shimon? So I think we're going to go a little bit more into the visitive in Meiron, and I'm really more interested in trying to convey in the next Shiur, Mitzvah Shem, exactly how it is that these things can be understood. Thank you very much. Hope to get this out there right away.